On the show tonight, Barack Obama actually scolding Senator Tim Scott. A new chapter we have in the DeSantis-Gavin Newsom feud. We have that tape tonight straight ahead. Also, Congressman James Comer with an update on the latest on the Biden syndicate and their family business dealings. This is getting very interesting. The walls are beginning to close in on Joe Biden. We'll explain. But first, is Biden in danger of losing the first two primaries, or the first caucus and the first primary in 2024? Now, while he does hold a lead over the rest of the Democratic field in national surveys, now, despite a tougher than expected challenge from Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he is regularly now polling at 21%. That's a real number. And Marianne Williamson is at 10%. That's a lot of Democrats that don't like Joe Biden. New Axios report saying the president is in danger of losing both Iowa and New Hampshire. Now, this is self-inflicted after his team indicated he might not even appear on the ballot. Biden wants the first primary to be in South Carolina. Obviously, to me, a middle finger in the face of the first caucus state, Iowa, the first primary state, New Hampshire. Back in February, with the help and the push from Joe, the DNC capitulated, agreed to boot Iowa, New Hampshire off the schedule to make room for South Carolina as the first primary. Now, remember, in 2020, how interesting, Biden lost the Iowa caucus and the New Hampshire primary, both by pretty healthy margins, before securing the endorsement, very critical at the time, Jim Clyburn, powerful South Carolina Democrat, and had a victory there. And now, in typical Biden fashion, he wants to rewrite the rules for his own benefit. Ironically, he may have just cost himself victories in two very key states in the process, opening the door for RFK Jr. to get serious momentum and giving growing concerns over his age and stamina and cognitive ability. The left may want to start looking for other candidates. Look at this. According to a new Axios focus group, this of North Carolina swing voters who backed Biden in 2020, now they're seeing his age is a serious issue. Many saying that it may be too late for Biden to ease their concerns. And, of course, with Joe's recent struggles and endless gaffes, can you blame them? Now, the 2+ years Joe has been in the White House have been characterized by one bizarre moment after another, constant struggling, constant gaffes. And during a dinner last night, well, he didn't exactly ease anybody's concern or worry. His speech was marked by the usual fights with the teleprompter. How do you fight with the teleprompter? His half-finished sentences and a rather ambitious infrastructure plan that made absolutely, positively zero sense. Take a look. You decide.
It's already attracting billions of dollars in private sector investment, even in districts that, in fact, you wouldn't expect. Districts that are all over the map. And then it's already attracting that money. Where members of Congress voted against the bill, we're still having, I made a commitment. I said, like I said, to all my folks, all the Americans in the State of the Union address, I promise to be president for all the people. So I'll see them at the groundbreaking, all these folks. They called it the G7, the Build Back Biden, Build Back Better. And we realized that got confusing. So now we don't call it that. What we call it is, here's the bottom line. Look, we're the ones that caused the problem. We have plans to build a railroad from the Pacific all the way across the Indian Ocean. We have plans to build in Angola, one of the largest solar plants in the world. I can go on, but I'm not. I'm going off script. I'm going to get in trouble.
I'm going to get in trouble? By who? Who's going to get the president in trouble? Why does he always say, I'm going to get in trouble? I'm going to get in trouble. What? They're not going to give me my ice cream, and I'm going to get yelled at and everything if I keep talking off the script. You got to be kidding me. All right, so, Joe, now, if you paid attention to that, if you were able to decipher that, he's planning to build a train, let's get this straight, from the Pacific Ocean to the Indian Ocean, across thousands of miles of open water. Hey, Joe, we have something called an airplane, a jet for that. Anyway, good luck to Joe Biden. Anyway, today Biden is being ridiculed for his latest gaffe with the DeSantis team, one of his potential 2024 opponents mockingly calling it A bit ambitious, but unfortunately, the president's struggles this week did not end there. He made this bold prediction about the population of Africa not once, not twice, but 3 solid times. Listen to this prediction very closely.
Africa will have 1 billion people. Our investments in Africa, for example, there are going to be 1 billion people in Africa very shortly. The Global South, there are going to be 1 billion people in Africa very shortly. 1 billion.
Now, Joey's very enthused about the prospect of Africa's population reaching 1 billion people. We have one big problem. According to the UN and their estimates, the population of Africa at the beginning of 2021 was almost 1.4 billion. In fact, Africa's population topped 1 billion all the way back in 2009 when Joe became vice president, a day I'm sure he does not remember. So with Biden's endless struggles and growing questions about his age, stamina, and cognitive abilities, why would he deny himself the chance to pick up delegates in Iowa and New Hampshire? And is he now opening the door ever so slightly for other Democrats to seek a new candidate? Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.